Managed to keep the Minister of Health on for just a little bit longer to wrap up the conversation of this allegations against discrimination by medical aids against Black and Indian health practitioners. It really has gained significant traction this week after the SABC broke the story. So again, Minister, thank you for staying on.
Thank you.
You know, we know that, and it is difficult because we know that there is the defrauding of medical aids is rife. The stories are horrific. You've highlighted examples. You've spoken to them in your speech. They've been on television programs. I know Special Assignment, our investigative journalist program, have spoken to how the medical aids are being defrauded. It's a very big problem. And that needs to be dealt with severely because I imagine that's also at the root of why we are paying such high tariffs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's no way this country can stand for fraud, corruption, wastage and abuse. That's why within the broader state, the president has put so many commissions to get to the bottom of that. Now, I have said earlier that on the 28th, when I made the speech you are referring to, and everything that we've been asking is in that speech, the Council of Medical Schemes and the SIU, the Special Investigative Unit, together with the industry, called a summit to discuss and develop a charter on how we are going to deal with this matter. On one side is this fraud, abuse, corruption, wastage. How do you deal with it? But on the other side is the method which you employ to deal with it. And I said we cannot allow vigilantism in dealing with fraud and corruption, no matter how difficult is it. And that's why the summit was called.
Yeah.
But now, having said so, 2 months back, the president signed a proclamation to investigate collusion between certain people in the regulator, the Council of Medical Aid Schemes, and certain medical aids. And that is ongoing. We're waiting for a report from the SIU. That's the right way to actually do it.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, a lot of doctors and health practitioners are losing income and they're committing suicide.
Yeah,
and are you aware of the high suicide rate purely due to the non-payment of medical aid schemes to these health practitioners?
As I've said, I've heard about that. I met the representative of the doctors last week, and I said, please give the names to the Council of Medical Schemes. And I think today, that's what's going to be happening. And they need to go deeper into it. If I'm not satisfied about the results, we might even have to put up a form of a commission on this matter. But remember that some of the issues that are being raised, that last year in June, when we released the bill on NHI, on the same day we also released a bill called Medical Schemes Amendment Act, where we want to amend certain practices. But that has been put on hold because you also remember that for the past 4 years, we have had the former Chief Justice Ngobo investigating in the health market inquiry some of the practices within the private healthcare sector.
Yeah.
And he released the preliminary report last year, also in June, but there are other processes he's still following, and we are expecting a final report very soon. We did not go on with that bill to amend some of the practices like in the medical aid scheme, like levies and all that, because we are waiting for the outcome of the market inquiry. They are going to be incorporated in that bill. So there's a lot of work that is being done, but I'm saying the most urgent one is to look into this issue of victimization of doctors.
Indeed.
If they have practiced fraud, laws of the country has to be followed.
And they can be blacklisted. If you are found guilty of committing fraud as a doctor, can you be blacklisted? I mean, I imagine you can.
I don't think, I'm not a legal expert, but I don't think medical aid schemes alone can take such a decision. I'm insisting
that
in common law, they have to go through the criminal justice system and go through a judge and say, through the law and say, look, I've caught this person doing ABC and I want to do this, and see if they agree, because it cannot be arbitrary. So that's what I'm saying, but I'm also adding and I'm repeating. The issue of demanding confidential information of patients between doctor and patient is something that will completely destroy the healthcare system, because which patient will come to us when they know that one day my
private information is going to get out.
My private information can just be disclosed to any third party.
Minister, let me ask you quickly.
You might remember that in the recent case of the health Umbat, when he was investigating the issue of the Tower Psychiatric Hospital, the Umbat was very critical of the doctor who released names of certain patients to the media in saying, I'm trying to expose corruption.
Yeah.
And some in the media and civil society were against the UMBAT, but he said this is going to be dangerous if you just allow people to willy-nilly release people information into the public like that.
Yeah.
Not even in the name of fighting corruption can you do that.
There's a lot of allegations against medical aids, and this will be our final question. We have to wrap it after this. That the talk that medical aid schemes are a law unto themselves. And the reason I say this is, A, they can demand this list or the doctor's notes, which you're saying they cannot do, but they say they want them, otherwise they won't pay you. They are also dictating as to which doctor you can and cannot use. They'll give you a list as a member to say, no, you can't go to that doctor, you must go to this doctor, because there's a list doing the rounds of those that are not allowed to be paid by us. Also, they have a list of what medicines you can and cannot use, and whether or not they say that they will not pay for this drug, they'll only pay for that drug. So you are, again, at the hands of the medical aid. So many people are saying and feel that medical aids run riot and they're a law unto themselves with nobody watching over them.
No, we are watching over them. And I've just informed you about the Medical Skills Amendment Act. You know, when you make laws, you look at what's happening in your country and to society, and you say, I'm going to change this through this act. So if you look at the Medical Skills Amendment Act, it will go to Parliament immediately when the Parliament starts. We'll submit it to them because we didn't finish that process. That's why we withheld it. But secondly, the regulator was set up to regulate some of these things,
which they're not even aware of, and that makes me worried.
You see, that's why last week I gave them an instruction that go and meet these doctors and regulate some of these things.
Okay.
Because that's what the regulator was set for, that you sit and regulate medical aids, you license them, you can even take away their license if you think they are becoming a law unto themselves.
Yeah.
Now, this is the third time I'm mentioning this because it's important. No third parties is entitled to your private medical records, Leanne, unless you give permission or unless the judicial system says so. So I'm insisting that doctors must refuse to submit any notes of their patients which they regard as confidential to a third party, including a funder.
Yeah.
They are not entitled to that information. If they need it, they must go to a court of law and ask for it. Even I, as a minister, I've never given that information. I'll never agree to do that.
Yeah. Can they even tell you what hospital to go to? Is that allowed? Can a medical aid tell you, no, you can't go to that hospital, you got to go to this one?
I don't think so. That's why I'm saying the regulator, but it means the regulator was not doing their work, and today, as they meet them, they must start doing their work.
There you go.
Because I'm not the regulator. They've been set up by law to regulate, and I'm instructing them to start doing their work and regulating.
Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, the Minister of Health, weighing in on the medical aid discrimination saga, and it continues. Let's take a break. Sports after.